She's contemplating what to do in case heaven is found. Hey, come on, baby, follow me. I'm the pipeline. Follow me. I'm the pipeline, and I'll show you where it's at.
Welcome to the Silicon Slopes podcast. I am with Christina Zidow, who is the COO of Odyssey House, and Rachael Santizo, who's a program manager at Odyssey House. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll ping pong back and forth between questions, but let's start with you, Christina. What is Odyssey House?
Odyssey House is the largest substance abuse and mental health treatment program in the state of Utah. We're a nonprofit, and we have about 22 locations, mostly located in Salt Lake County, and a youth outpatient program down in Las Vegas, Nevada. So we keep ourselves very, very busy. Most of the folks know us for our substance abuse. We're celebrating our 50th year this year. But we also specialize in mental health treatment and have a couple of mental health residential programs in addition to a huge array of outpatient services.
Very cool. 50 years, that would be like early 70s then, right?
Yep.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and we've been growing ever since we started with just one adult residential program and expanded to treat youth in residential treatment. We've got parents programs. One of our newest programs is our school-based program. So we're actually in all 5 of the Salt Lake County school districts, providing mental health services for kids ages kindergarten through 12, and do a lot of crisis response for Salt Lake County in the schools as well. So cool. Lots of fun stuff.
Yeah. And so the reason y'all are on the Silicon Slopes podcast is we've talked quite a bit about mental health over the years, but in particular the last year and a half, and substance abuse as well, right? Like it affects everyone. I think you can answer that.
Yep.
But whether you're rich, poor, work in tech, or work at Wendy's, it impacts you all, right?
Yeah, there aren't any barriers. No income barriers, no job barriers, no education barriers to addiction and mental health struggles, and especially after the last year and a half being stuck in this really crazy world of social isolation and high stress and a lot of death and loss. I think we're all needing a lot of support right now, and so specializing in substance use, but also in depression treatment and post-traumatic stress disorder treatment and anxiety disorders. There's a little something that everyone needs, I think, right now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Rachael, you're program manager there.
I am.
And recent graduate of Salt Lake Community College in criminal justice with distinction and honors, correct?
Yes, I am.
And then you were a patient. Is that the proper term, patient?
Patient, we usually call our folks clients.
Clients?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you were a client of Odyssey House.
I was.
Tell a little bit about that story from those times to where now you're with the organization, program manager. Give us a quick history lesson of you and how you ended up here.
So I went through Odyssey House residential. There was only one residential house when I went through in 2012. When I went through there, I was broken. I felt invisible. And as you guys were discussing before, is that there's no discrimination when it comes to mental health or substance misuse, and I struggle with both. And so I think one of the biggest things is when I went into Odyssey is I was never judged. I was able to be me, all of me, and I know that I was never able to do that before walking in those doors, and I was able to express all the things that I've needed to. And I was accepted for that, and I was also walked beside for that. So it's a it's therapeutic community. And so I was surrounded by people, not only people that were in there for the same reasons as me and going through the same things, but staff that also went through Odyssey House. So I was also shown hope that they could do it, right? And so that meant that I could do it too. Even though when I went in there, I didn't trust that. I didn't trust anybody. I didn't even trust myself. But I still, it kind of gave me a glimpse like, well, just maybe, like I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know if I can do it, or more importantly, if I'm worthy of doing it. But just maybe if I just kept making it till my pillow's sober and just kept trying. I knew what using would do, and I knew what not taking mental health meds or accepting that I did have depression and PTSD and trauma. I knew what that would do, but I didn't know if maybe just, paying attention and listening would do. And so, so I one foot in front of the other. So I actually stayed in residential for a year. And I'm a graduate of Odyssey, and I'm really, that was when I graduated from Odyssey, I completed something in my life. And I haven't really done that. And I did it, though. Nobody did it for me. Nobody helped me do it. Nobody. That was an accomplishment. And that's a huge word in life, is accomplishment. And so I could say I did that. And I did it by myself. And I did it in a time when I was doubted by most. And so, I graduated from Odyssey House. And that is something that is a very challenging thing to do. And I did it. And I noticed that even when I graduated, that they didn't go away. Like Odyssey was still there. Mm-hmm. And I was glad that they didn't go away, but I couldn't figure out, because my whole life is full of trauma and people leaving. I felt my entire life that I was tainted and abandoned. And that's been historically what my life's been about. And even after that, they were still there. And so from that point on, I still had Odyssey there. I've been connected with Odyssey for the last 9 years of my life. So they have aftercare. So it's not just you're done and that's it. You actually continue to stay in touch. And so we've been connected through the years, and it's remained that way. And then I worked at Odyssey House, and I've stood for Odyssey House, and I have these purposes. You start and then you start again. And throughout the years, that's what it's been for me. Mm-hmm. And I have this purpose, and now I get to give back what's been given to me. And so it's been pretty magical. And Odyssey House, being employed there, so I started out in marketing. And I'm really passionate about the incarcerated. And so they've allowed me to create things in my life that I wanted to do, and just stood beside me. So I'd go into the jails and the prisons. And then I wanted to go to school. And I wanted to go to school just because I wanted to go to school, because I didn't think that I could. I didn't think I was smart enough or worthy enough. And so I just wanted to. And they supported me in doing that. And now I'm a college graduate. Yeah. And they were at my graduation. And it's the beauty, that you start somewhere and people truly see you for you, and they never stop. And that's what Odyssey has done for me. Very
cool. Nice happy ending there.
Yes.
And so now you're program manager.
I am.
And what does that entail, kind of day to day?
Oh, man, I manage 54 clients just like me on a daily basis. That's what I do. So I get to show up for people, and some days are more challenging than others, but I get to be that voice for people that are trying to find theirs. And also staff too. So we have staff that are therapists, and then we have staff that have gone through the program. And so it's beautiful because we have the educational piece that I don't fully understand, and then we have staff that have actually gone through it. So we have this holistic approach, and then we get to put our heads together and we get to guide clients and come up with best practices, right, that work well for them. And so it's constantly learning new things on how to best help somebody change their life around. And that's what I get to do on a daily basis.
Yeah. That's a lot, 54
clients. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Different personalities, different problems.
Very different sometimes, but the same commonalities. It's like, it's pain and struggle, and then there's hope and miracles. And I get to deal with that every day.
Yeah. All right. So, Christina, you guys do a lot, and probably a lot more than people might associate you with. So it's, something that you have to evolve, just like a business, mm-hmm. right? Whether it's a car wash or a tech company, things change in how you treat people, and maybe the in processing. I'm sure it's always being tweaked and modified, but Hit on a few of the programs that you guys have, how they work as it pertains to the clients, maybe how long they stay, and what is a success story at the end of it.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that makes us pretty unique is that we have a primary care clinic that is integrated with all of our treatment programs, but it's also a standalone community clinic. And so we do everything there, from medication-assisted treatment for individuals who struggle with alcohol use disorder or opioid use disorder, to mental health medication, to standard primary care. You need a strep test, or you need a vaccine, or whatever. We cover all of that, and so we, have the folks walking across the street from their house coming to care there, and also providing really psychiatrically attuned services to the folks who are in our care. In addition to that, we also provide treatment services within the Salt Lake County Jail, which is super unique. We're the only treatment program who's able to do that. And that's a great opportunity for an incarcerated setting, because it gives folks a good jump start before moving out into the community. So it's a 90-day day treatment level of care program, where the individuals who participate with us there can start their treatment services in incarceration and then move out into outpatient services or residential services and continue their work there. A lot of the rest of our populations don't have anything at all to do with criminal justice services. So we have an awesome adolescent treatment program, everywhere from a high-intensity residential program to our school-based services that I spoke about earlier. And we can help, because we're so large and we have such a continuum of care, we can help folks move through that process, and families move through that process in a way that works for them and works for what they have in their life. And so if an adolescent needs some stabilization and kind of a brief break from home, and we can have them in our program and wrap around with a lot of family support and a lot of family treatment and family therapy and that sort of thing, and then work them back into their homeschool and back into life at home, and how to find new peers that are going to be supportive of recovery and all of those types of things. A couple of our other newer services involve mental health primary clients. In addition to struggling with substance use, they may have more significant mental health conditions. So being able to serve individuals anywhere from a residential level of care there to an outpatient level of care. Most of our lengths of stay are around 6 months, but everything's individually driven. So it might be 3 months for one individual, or in Rachael's case, she needed a year. And so we really focus on, what does this individual need right now? How can we help them become even more resilient than they already are? And mostly, how can we help them believe in themselves so that they can continue to make the hard choices every single day that they have to make? Because we don't really do any of the work. We're kind of like a hardware store. You can come, you can get classes on how to do everything. You can get all the tools and all of the skills, but at the end of the day, you got to go home and remodel your own bathroom.
Yeah.
And so having that perspective really keeps us humble, really keeps us attuned to what our clients need and what their families need, so that we're right on point with the services we provide to them. And we've got a lot of wonderful community support. So we have almost all of our clinicians, if they've been with us for over a year, are trained in the top level evidence-based practices. So trauma practices, behavioral practices, always looking at what the evidence-based practices are that are going to meet the needs of our clients. So
Yeah. Really cool. So it sounds a little bit like there's some a la carte options, right? Like
Yeah.
you could be in prison and still benefit, young, old, really intense, light intensity.
Yep.
And that's probably programming that you've developed over the years based on
absolutely.
feedback and then the science. But you also mentioned a few things that are expensive, right? Like medicine, clinicians, real estate,
Yes.
Yeah.
staff,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
So what is the model for Odyssey House? How do you keep the lights on and provide all this service?
Well, a lot of our revenue comes from service billing for the individual services that we provide. So whether it's Medicaid or private health insurance or private pay, that's where the majority of the revenue comes from. We are always growing and always expanding, and staff costs are absolutely number one in terms of what makes up our cost profile. Real estate, number two. And so we work with a variety of donors who are really supportive. We work with our local municipalities and governments that are really supportive. And, you know, if there's someone out there looking for a good cause to contribute to, we'd love to put your name on a building too. So,
Sure.
so we're always kind of looking at how can we connect and serve our community, and also how can we be the best stewards of public dollars that we can be, because we are, you know, accountability is one of our cornerstones, and so we want to make sure that we're mindful and accountable for all of the individuals who are in our care and all of the financial resources that we have opportunities to invest.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts there.
Yeah, it's makes my head spin some days.
I can imagine. So, Rachel, you mentioned you work with 54 people.
Yeah.
So for you, and I'm sure there's systems and processes that kind of define success, but what is success for a sample of these 54 people? Just an example here or there of, they graduate and stay sober. How do you guys measure success?
How I measure success is if you notice, a lot of people don't genuinely look someone in the eyes. Like we just fail to take the time. And so a lot of times when people come in the doors, they're gray. Like they're not very colorful. Like they don't look you in the eyes. You can just see where someone's at just by taking the time to look in their eyes, and you can just tell how someone's feeling, and they have a gray tint to them. And so after time, when someone's in their element and you can see that they're finding their passion and they're looking you in the eyes and they have color to their skin, that's a success. I don't know. Sometimes it takes people. Someone told me once that some people are the message in recovery, and some people give the message. And I found that to be true. It's a very mental health and substance dependency is very complex, and I don't have the answers. But I know when you have a meaningful conversation, or when you have somebody that makes it to their pillow sober, or when someone truly smiles, or when you see them light up, that's success to me. I don't need someone to have a car or do all these big things. It's the little things, and that's what in life, that's what matters. And so I see successes every day in that building. And sometimes even when somebody relapses, right, and they come back, that's success to me. That's courage, that's strength. And so those are successes to me. And so I see them every day.
Yeah.
In people.
And so, what advantage do you have as someone who went through the process, and you can relate to these clients over maybe somebody that has never been an addict but went to medical school? Obviously, there's value in both, but
Right.
What are some of the advantages that you have in communicating with these folks?
Well, there's good and there's bad, right? So I can call you out in a healthy way, but I can also there's only a point where when someone's acting out in their behaviors, I am not gonna be of service to you or your life or your future if I allow you to be that. That is not a true friend, and that is not a peer or a person in your life if I co-sign on these negative behaviors. And so if I see you doing things, then I'm gonna let you know, right? And so it is only in your best interest if I let you know those things, and I'm going to. If I truly care about you, I'm going to let you know. If I think that, because I think people will relapse far before they pick up a drug or alcohol. it's their behaviors and how they're acting out or isolating or doing things. I'm going to say, what's going on with you? Like if I see you acting in a different way, I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to ask you, why are you doing this? Like, what's going on? I see something different in you. I'm going to call you out on it. And then if I see you do something or finish an assignment or do something that's really hard, like we have this thing called impact letters, and it is so incredibly powerful. And when someone has the courage to do an impact letter, I'm going to let you know, because I think that is also extremely important as well. And so when you have the courage to stand up and speak your truth and be vulnerable, I'm going to let you know that as well. So there's equal sides to it, but that's called life. And you need to know both sides of life. You can't just let somebody know like, oh, good job, right? You do, but also at the same time, wait, you're slipping and I care enough about you that I'm going to tell you this too, because I want you to succeed, and you can't be doing these things because it's not going to serve you later in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool, and I'm sure it resonates a lot more coming from you than somebody else that didn't experience it.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel bad, the ways that I acted towards staff sometimes when I was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you had a time machine or magic wand, you could go back and
Yeah.
have a different conversation. I guess that's
Okay.
what you do.
You turned out great.
It took a while, but I did.
All right. So, Christina, obviously 50 years, you're not going away, and people are going to have problems and need your services, right? Unless there's some magic pill or...
We would love that.
Right.
Yeah. If we could work our way out of business, that would be the best success, right?
Yeah.
That
Probably
would,
won't
that
happen,
would
but
be
that's
it.
optimistic
Yeah.
thinking. So how do you guys forecast your strategic moves into the future? Like, you can't plan for COVID, but I'm sure there's a lot of data and a lot of stats out there of, this is kind of coming down the chute because of a new drug was developed and it's easy to get, XYZ, all of that. How do you guys strategically think through your next moves where you can provide the best service possible?
Well, I think on the clinical side, we're always looking at evidence-based practices, medical developments, those types of things. So really the marriage between medicine and psychotherapy helps us create or support our clients in the best outcome possible. In terms of strategic development and growth of the agency, we pay attention to the folks around us and what our community needs. So looking into the future, looking at the fallout from COVID, we know we're going to need a lot of mental health services for kids. We're going to need a lot of mental health services for kids who become adolescents, and for adolescents who become young adults, and for young adults who move into middle-aged adults, because we have all experienced such a unique trauma that totally took us off the rails, right? And so making sure that we have service availability for those individuals, that we're flexible and creative enough to get the services to the individuals that need them in the lowest barrier method possible. And so, it's nice that everyone is now on telehealth platforms and we can, Zoom or Skype or whatever into our meetings, making sure that continues to be available for mental health services. So the mom who's struggling, who's at home with her newborn and only leaves the house to run to the grocery store and drop the other kiddo off at school, still has the ability to check in with her therapist and say, hey, I'm doing okay. I need to create some more goals around this. I need a little bit more support around this. Will you call my doctor and talk to them about this because I'm struggling there. So really continuing to focus on holistic healthcare and listening to our community, listening to our clients about what they need, and then being as creative and agile as we can to create it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty big advantage, right? The telehealth and the ability to just have phone conversations or video calls. It doesn't work if you've got, a compound fracture and you're bleeding out. But if you want to talk to somebody and tweak your program or just have an ear to listen to, it moves the needle quite a bit, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does, and it works really well. We have for so long forced individuals who are more on the introverted spectrum to come in and present and do a production in group and those types of things, where those individuals are going to be much more candid and comfortable speaking to you from their own home, right? And so making sure that in that way we're also saying, okay, this is where you thrive, this is what's best for you, these are the natural ways that we're going to create some support for you, and not forgetting about how important connection is, but also not saying you have to become this other person or you have to act this way to get our services. That doesn't make any sense at all, right? And so really making sure that we're being flexible and listening to people, because our clients are the experts on themselves. We have a lot of experience, but we are by no means the experts on each of the folks that we serve.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one's going to be pretty impactful. When friends are like just a mess, I'm like, you seem off. You should go talk to somebody, right?
Right.
That's the extent of my compassion. They're like, well, I would, but it's a big old hassle to set the appointment, and then you have to go somewhere, get asked weird questions, versus pretty seamless in. So the volume theoretically could go up, and the quality could also go up in the treatment. Very cool.
Absolutely.
Very cool. All right. Well, is there anything else that folks should know, like, if they want to get involved either in supporting or if they've got a family member that they might think would benefit? What are some ways that they can get in contact with you and your team?
Our website's the best way to look us up. So it's odysseyhouse.org. And we've got an online application there. We've got information on all of our programs. We've got ways to give and support the agency. Lots of fun testimonials and stories from our graduates and from our clients, and so that's the one easy way.
Easy way. Yeah, it's a really good website. It covers a lot of details and makes it easy to get in contact. So thank you so much, Rachael. Thank you so much, Christina. Congrats on graduating and making it through and finding a good spot in life where you can be happy and help others. It's really cool. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.